Hello YouTube. Let's check if we're live. Cool, we're online. So hello anyone who's happening to be scrolling back in time and listen to my awkward intro to my Dreams stream. Media Molecule announced today that they would be letting people stream and share videos and talk about the beta. So I thought I would sort of play around, explore Dreams a bit, and let people ask questions, sort of show people how Dreams works, how to make different types of things, what sorts of things people have made in the beta, basically whatever they want to see. So if you're listening to this and you happen to have a question, say something in chat and I will try to address every comment that comes in. So first off, I think one thing that people haven't really seen a lot of is sort of the way around the menus. So you start out here in the home space, and it's just sort of an empty room that starts out with a few objects in it that you can remove if you want, and I removed most of them. That you get sort of a really simplified version of create mode in, where you can sort of stamp down objects that you get as prizes, and it just sort of serves as a slightly more accessible way of using create mode than the full editor. So these objects are like prizes that you would get from single player, presumably. I don't think you get any objects that were made by the community to be able to stamp in your home space. I don't know if that will change, but currently everything you get is from like made by Media Molecule, and it's pretty simple stuff like cubes and half pipes, and oh, there's a bounce pad in here. That's cool. I don't know why it's not showing up. Is it like really small? Let's make it bigger. Weird. Okay, well, oh, there it is. So you can just stamp stuff down that you win from playing levels, and just sort of make this place your own using pre-made assets. So this is kind of like your pod in Little Big Planet, but it's a bigger space to work with, and there's more you can do with it. You can make little platforming sections or whatever you like. But it's obviously not as fully featured as create mode. You can't make logic. You can only work with what you're given. Then so this links to the same place as this up here on the main menu, which is your home page, where it shows everything you've created. It lets other people go into your home space and see what you've arranged in there by going to this page if they visit your Dreamer page. This right here is your persona that shows like what activities you like to do within Dreams. So you can see I like to do a lot of messing with logic stuff, which is why my design bar is so much higher than the community average, and my art is much lower, and my animation is somehow exactly on par with the rest of the community. And then this is like your current passion, so more of a collection of what you've done more recently rather than over the lifetime of the time you've been playing Dreams. And this design plus play is based on the more recent activity, so it's basically your current passion as opposed to your all-time activities. And then if you scroll over on the home page, you can find photos you've taken, comments people have posted on your profile, your activity. These are your like achievements or quests or whatever you want to call them. I've completed most of the things that aren't like a really long progress bar on this.
there are some that you can just keep on doing for a really long time. Like, work on a sound I guess I just haven't worked with sound very much. But some of these take a really long time to fill the progress bar all the way up. Let's see, release 10. I must have released 10 elements already. I guess each one of these dots on the progress is 10 more elements. So I've released a lot of logic gadgets and stuff, so that's why I've completed a couple of these already. Let's see. This user page, not very interesting. The community jam is something that's really cool. So every single week they provide a new theme, and anyone can submit their creation that they made anytime before the deadline. Anything. It includes stuff you started before the jam happened to start, so if you have something that happens to match the jam theme rather than something you put together in a week, you can currently submit stuff that took longer a week if it happens to match up to the theme well enough. I mean, obviously you can submit anything you want, but you're not going to get a lot of votes for people if you are submitting things that don't match the theme. The Hall of Fame is where you can see all the previous winners of various different themes. So here's Winter Holidays. The winner was Auntie Rich, who happens to also be a media molecule person, so that's that's what that is. We got a New Year's celebration. This one was really cool. They showed this on a Dream stream, so I won't hop right into that, but it's got a cool Big Ben character. I said that I won't hop into it, but I'm doing it because I love this guy. I love the way they make the face and the sound and the jump that it makes. It's really creative use of the puppet combined with this Big Ben character. I think no one else besides this creator might have made the Big Ben, and then they just adapted some pieces of it to make the puppet. So that's community jams, and then the other part of community jams is obviously playing and voting on your favorites. So the latest theme that actually just entered voting is Bugs, Bugs, Bugs. So you're voting on creations people made themed around bugs, and whichever one gets the most votes from the community is the one that wins. I think this is a really creative way to sort of be able to flush out new content from the community, ideas that people might not work on otherwise, and just a way to sort of highlight a history of all the greatest things people have made in Dreams through this Hall of Fame. Just because you can scroll back through all the themes and see what people have made for each week and who the winner was. So that's a lot of fun. Dream surfing. I don't think they've shown a lot of this. I'm not super happy with how the sort of content surfacing seems to work. It seems like the things that were on top like 2 weeks ago are kind of the same things that are still on top today, and that kind of bothers me, but I'm sure they're going to work on that. And right now it's just sort of a linear list. You just scroll and scroll. There's no automatic dream surfing right now where you just like play a dream and then you reach the exit and then whatever happens to come up next is what you play then, and you just go continuously through them. That's something that they're apparently planning but is not in this beta yet. This is a level that I made, and I'll probably go into that in more detail a bit later. sort of how I constructed it. It took second place in the Outer Space Community Gym, which I'm super proud of, and I just found out a few minutes ago, actually. The theme was outer space, and I just happened to be making an outer space themed level at the time. I even named it before I realized that the theme was going to be outer space. But I think it's a cool level. I'm proud of it. And I'll just show off what the level is like to play right now. So you're on this little spherical planet. You can run around in first person, jump around. There's these orbs that you can collect. And then there's a progress bar up top that shows how many of those orbs you've collected. You might have seen just something fly over my head just now. Ignore that. That's not important yet. So yeah, this planet has a couple poles, it's got a house, it's got all sorts of neat little surprises on it. It's got water, which I spent a lot of time trying to get back to the method I wanted in it. And the amount of power that Dreams gives you, and just the sound design and look how you want the reflex that make up the sculptures and paintings look and move is really cool. And this little boat that I made with nice brilliance of physics. Rock the boat a bit. That's fun. And these little physics jumps to keep the boat anchored to the dock. And to keep the paddles from like falling into the ocean and things like that. And then I used maneuvers and rotators to make the boat act like it's floating on the water. This dock is made out of just a few assets, and the boat as well is an asset I found in the Dreamiverse from another creator. So I just searched for like planking wood, wooden post or something, and boat, and I sort of arranged these elements to create this nice dock and boat. And the planet itself is sort of sculpture that I created from scratch, just sort of messing around and making a blobby thing. I don't think I knew what I was planning on doing at first when I started making the blobby planet shape. I just sort of evolved from there. I just sort of sculpted some blobs, made a cool shape, thought about making it a planet, and then added, I just intersected like a spherical sculpt with it to create an ocean, and sort of scaled it and played with the size of the ocean sphere to figure out where the water should be on it. And then creating the actual ocean surface, instead of using that sphere, I just painted over it with paint strokes and adjusted the settings on those paint strokes to get the water, the ocean waves, and the splashes are a separate duplicated painting of that. The way the water foams at the edge of the ocean is a paint stroke that I just drew all the way around the edges where the water meets the land. And I just sort of twisted it out and put settings on that to create the sort of frothy effect. There are actually two different sculpts that make up the ground of this planet. So there's one for the dirt and like plain areas, and one for the grassy areas, and they're almost exactly the same sculpt. I went back into sculpt. I duplicated the grassy one to create the ground one, and then I went into sculpt mode and I just deleted parts of the grassy one after it was duplicated to make sure the grass didn't stick up through the grassless sculpt, and just use different settings on the two. So you can really easily make something that looks furry or grassy or a little bit fuzzy or just like a little bit hazy, or any kind of appearance, any kind of like painterly appearance, just by tweaking settings on a sculpt. This log is another asset in Dreamiverse, and this trees. I think the log I actually took one of the trees that elsewhere in this level. One of these was over here, and I just chopped off the top and turned it into a log and turned a shorter version of that into a tree stump. The sky, as you can see, has a day-night cycle. It's all custom, so I have trigger volumes that, as you pass through them, as you're on the side of the planet that's facing the sun or the side that's facing away, it passes from night to sunset to sunrise to daylight. Hello, new viewer. Let's see if you posted anything. Welcome to the stream. I'm just sort of showing, exploring around the level that I created in Dreams. Oh, you're gone. Bye-bye. There's a moon up in the sky. That is also a community-created asset. The little white floaty dots in the water are also like a secret thing that I added. Give a little bit of a unique look. After you collect enough of the orbs, you unlock the jetpack, as you just saw. Some of those really fun to add. There's some of it that I planned from pretty early on in making this level, but it's something that didn't come together until much later in sort of designing the world itself and what I wanted it to look like and what I wanted there to be in this world. So I really just sort of focus on creating the atmosphere of this place, and then from there I wanted it to be fun to explore the place even before it gave me the ability to fly around it totally freely. There's that sphere I mentioned earlier that's in orbit, so if you're good with your orbital mechanics, you can intercept it and get another point. There's a ball floating in the water that uses similar maneuvers to the uses very similar maneuvers to the boat floating by the dock over here. Give it a feeling of buoyancy. And then when you fly up high enough above the planet, the audio sort of fades out and you get outer space with no sound other than a muffled version of the jetpack sounds. And then as you fly down, the sky will fade back in, and the wind and water sounds also fade in at the same time. And the gravity continues to affect you even a little bit after the sky fades out. But then if you get far enough, you get full 6 degrees of freedom rotation on yourself, and it's real easy to lose track of where you are because that's space for you. And you can fly over here to this moon, and then it reorients you to the gravity of the moon, and there's some more orbs to collect around here. And now we have a flashlight, so we can explore the dark side of the moon where there's absolutely no lights. So the day-night cycle you may have seen back on the planet is not sort of a trick. I'm not rotating the sky above the planet. I am actually just, the planet itself is just one big physical object. I'm actually just rotating it at a constant rate. So when you're on one side of the planet, you're in a trigger zone. It's just the daylight side of the planet. When you're sort of on the verge of where the sun would be low on the horizon, you're in a sunset, sunrise zone that has this orange sky. And then when you get to the side opposite the sun, that's what triggers the nighttime sky. And that was very difficult to make the nighttime sky actually different space sky. It's actually darker once you get into outer space because you lose that atmosphere. And that's just tweaks on the sky gadget again. And the sky that you create actually affects the amount of ambient light on your objects in your scene. So you can see when I'm in outer space here, the dark side of the moon is actually completely black, whereas when I'm back on the planet, the dark side of the planet still has some ambient light because the sky is not completely black. But when you're in outer space, you would think that the dark side of the planet would be completely black because I'm using this black sky anytime you're in outer space. But I'm actually faking the light coming from the sky illuminating the ground of the planet on the dark side by just having various lights out in outer space that point at the planet and light up the dark side. So I spent quite a long time before I even had a playable character, just sort of tweaking the transitions between day and sunset and night, and the transitions between being on the planet and off of it. So now that we've sort of looked at what the mechanics of this level are, I'm just going to fly deep into outer space, which is one of the ways you can exit a level. And then when you get far enough out into space, I made the screen sort of blur out gradually, and then it fades to black, and then the level concludes. So let's go into edit mode and take a look at how this level was made. This is edit mode for the dream rather than the scene. When you're editing a dream, you can place scenes down and link them together, and that way you can create longer dreams that consist of multiple scenes that link together using doors, and these doors can lead back and forth, so you could have one that leads into one level and then another that leads back, or these doors can be set as two-way. And these exits here are just objects, door gadgets that I stamped down in my level that I can then access when I'm in dream editing mode to link together however I want. So I could actually stamp down a scene that some random person in Dreamiverse made, or even dream that someone made, and just link that up to one of the doors in my level and just make someone else's creation part of my dream. So if you're a curator and you're not great at making scenes or dreams, but you want to sort of create a story or a collection of experiences that go well together, you can just sort of stamp things down and link them together, even if they're not your own creations. So I think that's really cool. Let's exit without saving. Let's go to my creations. Where is it? Okay. So now we're in the scene, which is just the only scene in this dream, and this is where all of the level is made. So in edit mode, you see a lot of edit mode type things, like all this logic that's super scary and large and complicated that's attached to the player. There's a bit simpler, smaller logic attached to the planet. And pretty similar small piece of logic attached to the moon. And all of this logic is what makes this character able to orient to the surface of the planet, be able to rotate freely in outer space, be able to have gravity applied or not. Actually, gravity being applied is based on these force appliers, which just have a radius around the planet and another one with a radius around the moon. And those just apply a suction force to everything that's near within that zone, basically. So that's what causes the the boat to fall toward the water, and then it has its own mover that repels it from water to create that buoyancy force. It's what causes, let's see, I think the only physics objects are that and the beach ball in the water over here, if that's, there it is. So that's doing the same thing with the buoyancy. And then there's one more thing, which is the orbiting sphere. And that's just emitted by an emitter at the start of the level. And it just, I tweaked the settings on the emitter until I found a velocity that could sustain an orbit, basically. And then I just went into the level and stayed in the level for a while to make sure that it wouldn't leave orbit after like 20-30 minutes or something like that. I could have been more rigorous about making sure the orbiting sphere would like respawn if it hit a tree or something like that, but it ended up being a pretty stable orbit, so I didn't really find the need to. Let's take a look, what else? So if you're in chat, give me a shout if you want me to show anything in particular, how to make anything, how to sort of what it is capable of. PC is trying to restart, and I'm gonna click wait an hour. That's gonna get annoying quickly. Let's take a look at something else, because unless you want to see something specific in this level, just shout me out in the comments if you do. So this is the moon. It also rotates on an axis and is a physical object in order to create a day-night cycle when you're standing on the moon. If you're not familiar with the level, it's a first-person thing where you can run around on this little spherical planet. And the first-person logic is all created from scratch because puppets aren't able to orient freely. They have to stand upright. So if there's any specific details you want to see, or just something completely unrelated you want to see, post a comment and I'll see what I can do. The level is called A Little Place in Outer Space, and it's sort of an exploration of just sort of this place that meant to look like a place someone has made home. It feels maybe a little lonesome and quiet, but also like somewhere you can explore. I don't really know what inspired it other than that I wanted to make a spherical planet. I just sort of went from there and thought about what sort of atmosphere I wanted to have. So that's where the like lack of music and just sort of soft ambience of the wind and water came from. So don't be shy about posting comments if there's anything specific, even if it's not related to this level, that you want to see in streams. The swimming pool is also something that I added. Anything in the water, it needs ripples. So splashing sounds periodically. Splashing is more frequent and moving through the orientation and the sense of periodic. Swimming strokes basically versus treading water. Yay, I got the jetpack again. Let's go out into space. want to make it so you don't know exactly what's happening when you're in space. So I created these lines that sort of zip by as you fly around. There's a setting on paint strokes you can do where they constantly spawn randomly near the camera within a radius you can specify. So I use that to create a sense of motion so you know what direction you're going even when you have no frame of reference, like when you're just looking over toward a nebula. So you can tell, oh, I'm going that way, I should look in that direction. Okay, there's nothing in that direction. And if you know where you came from, then you can sort of turn around and say, oh, I came from there, so that's where the planet must be. Then if you fly over to the moon, you can land on it and explore and find more of the secret orbs that you're trying to collect. If you hold L1, as you can see in the bottom left corner, it gives you a HUD that shows you your progress on collecting all little collectibles. There's a few of them scattered around the planet, and a few of them on the moon that you can find. Collect a couple more, and unlock the flashlight, which will make it easier to find the stuff on the dark side of the moon, because there's obviously no lighting out here, because we don't have a sky to reflect light. It's going to be too hard to find stuff on the dark side of the moon without a flashlight, so I'm going to go back here and find a couple more orbs so I can explore a bit better. There's one of these trees down the bottom of the forest floor. There's the tree on the top. Okay, now I have the flashlight. So that's just a light source like any other lead that's just attached to the cleaner. And I added a little controller sound, so if I hold this up to my mic, you can hear the pickiness. That doesn't actually play on TV speakers, so you won't hear that if I don't hold that up to my mic. I just did that to make it feel like, you know, you have a flashlight in your hand. There's an orb orbiting the planet here that I can try and get if my orbital mechanics are up to snuff, but apparently they are not, so I'll have to wait for it to come by and make a second pass to sort of hover in place. So try and spot it. Oh, there it is, yes. Let's head out to the moon now that we have a flashlight. So don't be shy, post a comment if there's anything you want to see within the Dreams beta, or anything you want to know how I did it, or how you would achieve any specific thing, because I have a lot of experience within the beta, and I'm happy to share. Oh, there's an orb. There we go. Yes. One more. Just one more. Where are you? There you are. Okay, so now I have the orb sensor, so now it gets more easier to 100% this level. So when you put the orb sensor, there's a little delay and then a little ding sound, depending how far away you are from an orb. I'm getting further away. Up there's. So between me pressing the button and the orb sensor making the controller vibrate and playing the little ding sound, the delay gets shorter the closer you are to the orb. Or if there's none nearby, you just don't hear anything. And I did that by just expanding the radius on a sensor gadget continuously, and then playing sound, vibrating the controller as soon as the count on the sensor increases. Let's see, I think I didn't get one in the chimney of the house, so I'll try around and get that one. Probably didn't get the nighttime one either. This level has a speed run time, but I've gotten pretty good at routing out and collecting everything in the level real quickly. So I I made it so one of the orbs only shows up if you stand in the spot at nighttime. And I added this little lamp post here as a sort of hint about that. Yeah, that's all I forgot. So, once the planet rotates enough, and the sun goes down, and the sun finishes setting, there'll be a little firefly display here, and there'll be an orb in the center of it. There we go. Yes. I'm right on the edge of the sunset, so as soon as I walk over to it, I go from being nighttime to being in sunset, so it disappears again. I should probably fix that at some point. So yeah, that's 100% of this level. That's every orb you can get. You can still wander around and explore, but there's not as much to do once you've found everything, because I pretty much positioned the orbs at all the points of interest rather than sort of spacing them out randomly. I sort of created the points of interest and then placed the orbs in the places where I thought were interesting to explore. So to end the level, I can just fly back home, and then my score will be posted on a No Place Like Home leaderboard. Ready to go home? Yes, I'm tired. And that's the end of the level. I will not save my changes that I made while editing this level, because I didn't mean to make any changes. So if you want to have a look around this level and see how any of it is made, post a comment, or anything else in Dreams, basically how to achieve any specific effect or character or sound or logic, whatever you like, whatever interests you. Show your passion, post a comment, and I will do my best to show you around. Let's head out and explore the Dreamiverse a little bit. Maybe search for remixable scenes so we can take a guess at how other people do things. We can filter by remixable. Oh, the Big Ben one is remixable. That's cool. So, you may have already seen this one on the Medium Molecule stream. Gonna take a look in edit mode and see how they achieve various things. Oh wow, they have a lot of lighting in this scene. That's really cool. I never really thought about the lighting for a nighttime scene like this, how you need all the street lights and things. They sculpted things at a pretty small scale, so there's not much detail once you get up close to things. Let's see how their thermometer does for a scene like this. Okay, so it's about halfway full on about everything. I'm surprised they're 50% on audio. I think there's only a couple songs in this level. That just depends on how many unique sound recordings you have. Let's see. We could take a look at the logic for concluding this level. So there's a trigger zone here that detects when the Big Ben character is standing in front of, I think it's the House of Parliament or something. So when that trigger zone is active, you have this mess of wires that connect to text displayers. What else? Connecting to this AND gate also detects if this detects if the player is jumping, if they're lending. So this is probably the logic that dictates counting how many times the Big Ben has sounded his bell every time you jump in front of the House of Parliament, because you have to jump 12 times and trigger the clock striking midnight in the fireworks show. So yeah, this probably counts up to 12 right here. Yep. And then that connects up to a number displayer, so it's counted how many times you've jumped. Let's see if that's, oh yeah, that just shows up in the corner here. You can have anytime you're tweaking something, it shows the text displayer so you can sort of see what you're working with, help with positioning multiple things that are related to each other, and sort of build up a complicated HUD. Let's see, what else are they doing in this scene? They have a way of switching characters, because there's a little tiny guy somewhere over here that you can play as in addition to Big Ben. So if we scope into the microchip for this guy, you can see that there's a wire going into the force possession input on this guy. So when you push triangle and you're standing in this zone, that's probably the logic. And there's a timer for some reason. I wonder what that's for. So if this timer is active and you're standing in the zone and you push triangle, I believe, are the inputs, then it forces possession of this guy, which causes the camera to fly over to this guy, and you just play as this tiny little guy, able to explore this big world. Let's take a look at that demo again. Curious if these sculptures would look a little bit better with more detail on them. So there's a sculpture detail tool you can use to adjust. No, they seem like they're relatively low detail right now, but you can actually increase that and make things a bit sharper. So if I do that, you can see the corners on things become a lot more crisp. Oh, whoops. Or you can make things really soft, and it decreases your thermometer usage when you do. Make this super sharp. We've already increased our graphics thermometer 5% by making this such a dense sculpture, but now you get really sharp edges on it. Let's see what that. So now you can see the edges of the painted parts also become sharper, in addition to the corners and the size of the little tiny flecks that make it up getting smaller. So if we undo that, you can see it getting blurry. So yeah, I think this level could benefit from if this creator had increased the detail on things, because when you go around as this tiny little guy, it starts to show where the detail is a bit low. Like, let's try that on this building too. Yeah, I think it looks a little bit better when you increase the detail. Let's take a look at a different level. Don't save. Okay, Snowtown. That one doesn't have a lot of logic, but it's mostly just sculpture. But they did a really nice job on it. It's got all these clouds floating off in the distance that I didn't really think much about when I was playing the level. It's got really nice snow effects, like leading up to the stairs to the houses and things, and on top of the trees, and all these icicles. Lots of really nice detail from this person. And then when you're playing the level, it's just... there was a puppet in this level. In fact, oh, did they change this level? I don't think this used to be... there used to be a puppet in this level. It's weird. Maybe the one that I played had a puppet, so it could mix of this. I'm surprised by that. So if you have puppet in a level, instead of letting you fly the camera around freely like this, I actually haven't played this one, so I'm curious. Okay. We got forward, back. We got tank controls basically. Move forward, backward, rotate with the right stick. Look at that. I don't think R2 can do that in the movies. So we'll be not having control over the camera here. We just got a classic Star Wars corridor and R2-D2. And this seems like, I'm curious if they did a puppet for this or if they just did a physics object with movers. I'm assuming they did a puppet and they just deleted all of the puppet body parts. But let's test that theory. They did not do a puppet actually. So if they had done a puppet, when I scoop into this, you would have seen a little circle on the ground under his feet. And now even when I clip into the ground, there is no circle under his feet. So it seems like this is just a physics object. And I'm curious if they actually did true collision on like the wheel parts and the body and stuff. So this is not collidable. So now I'm not sure how they did the collision. If I turn on preview visibility, there should be something that collides somewhere. Now I'm getting real curious what they did. I'm seeing this circle here, and I'm curious what that is. Whether that's the collision. So this thing is collidable. So I wonder if this means that you can't get too close to a wall, because that circle is so much bigger than a 2 is. No, you totally can. So what is... how does this guy work? Rewind. Yeah, keyframes are kind of a sticky point right now in Dreams. There are some issues where some bugs that I hope they iron out, where if you have a keyframe active and you're in edit mode, it prevents you from moving certain things around, and it prevents you from editing other keyframes. But it's a beta; they can work these things out over time. We got hold movement. So how does this guy's collision work if this is not collidable? Oh wait, so the whole object is movable, and then is this collidable? It's not collidable. So how did they do this? How is it able to move over terrain without collidable parts? I'm confused. Some of this stuff is collidable. And I have preview invisible. No, I don't have preview. Yes. Wait. What? Oh, right. So I want preview invisibility off so I can see every invisible object they have here. But I don't see any invisible objects as colliders that would be causing it to not fall through the floor. So this is kind of a mystery to me. Yeah, I'm not sure how this guy actually works. Whoa, I didn't even notice this broken R2 over here. Let's take a look at something more interesting. Oh, and I'm sure the movement is just, yeah, it's just an advanced mover. Oh, there's a microchip here, whoops. So there's 2 advanced movers. This one is probably the thrust. Left stick local, splitter Y. So this must be forward, backward. Yeah, this is forward, backward movement here. And this one, what does this do? X and Z. What is this input from, though? Analog stick. Which analog stick? Left. And then this one is, oh, old movement. So if I turn off old movement, how does that do that? Oh, old movement just lets you move in any direction. New movement gives you tank controls. So this little switch that they put on the microchip lets you control whether you want tank control to constrain you to forward, backward, and turning. So that's why there's two movers on this guy. Anyway, let's dig into something else. Junkyard. I haven't seen this one either. I honestly haven't played a lot of Dreams. I've mostly spent my time in create mode. So I'd love to hear a comment from you in the chat if there's anything specific you would like me to show. Any part of Dreams that interests you. Any aspect of creation you'd like to see how it's done. I know my PC is not working. There we go. Okay. So just post a comment. As you can see, this level is first person. They've just hidden some parts of the puppet and stuck the camera inside the character's head just using the distance settings on the puppet's default camera. But you can also create fully custom cameras with things like movers and rotators and bolts and things. This is a really dense and detailed environment. They did a nice job on this. I love the rust on this. They did by cutting out some parts of this like truck's roof to give it some wear and then painting it. Some cool water effects over here. Go on water. Well, this person hasn't created any sort of swimming or anything, but that's okay. Got this all busted up fence. Tree trunk. Yeah, really nicely detailed level. Oh, I like how they reused these car parts. Like this one is just like a full truck, but then over here you have just the front of one. So you can just take little pieces and remix them to make something that feels different, but it's actually reusing assets and sticking to your graphics thermometer. Very clever. Some more cubes here. I wonder what those are for. If those are there on purpose or not. Let's go into create mode and see what that is. Currently just filtering on remixable levels so I can find stuff that I can go into create mode and see what they've done with the tools. Where were those cubes? Oh, that's part of the truck. Okay. Let's move this out of the ground a bit. Oh, that's the suspension on the wheels. So those were twitching around just because the thing's stuck into the ground a bit and it was causing a little bit of instability like that. Okay. Cool level. I'm gonna exit out of create mode and give that one a like. Nice work, Sabretooth. Let's see what else we got. Cloth physics. So this, I think they've done just using ball joints or ropes connecting all these little triangle sculpts together. And then, I'm not sure how they did the lighting. I'm sure it's probably just a, like a blue light from one direction and a purple light from another direction. And just like a glossy sort of material makes up the sculpt. but it does a really good job of approximating cloth. So let's see what kind of joint they're using, if it's elastic or rope or, not ropes, they call it string in Dreams, or just ball joints. It has enough stretchiness that I'm inclined to say either a string or an elastic. Scope in. We need to turn on connector visibility. So these are, that's the wrong thing. These are ball joints, yeah. So the stretchiness of this cloth is probably not fully intentional. It probably just comes from the physics engine needing to having a limited amount of iterations on the physics to be able to stabilize and get these objects back to where they want to be. And there are enough forces acting on these ones near the top that, from all the weight coming from down below, that it's not able to do enough iterations to stabilize and bring this joint back to zero length where it wants to be. And the lighting, as I suspected, is just a couple lights on each side. One that's purple and one that's bluish on the other side. I feel like there's probably another. No, it's just the two lights, it seems like. And then let's see what kind of material size they're doing on the sculpture. Yeah, that looks pretty shiny from these angles. It's probably, yeah, just medium shininess, not waxy or metallic. You can sort of play with that. You can multi-select things to change them all at once like this. So if we wanted to make things like red, we could have two different color pieces of cloth. Or if we wanted, so this is where it gets fun. The lighting in this game is really good. You can make just regular sculpts glow, and they just act like a light source that illuminates the rest of the scene. So you don't have to manually place down lights on everything you want to emit light. You can just create natural light sources, like just sculpt a light bulb and tell it to emit light, and so it will. It's a real natural way of making things that, and a really strong lighting engine that's able to create some really good effects as well. What else we got here? Thanks for coming to the stream, anyone who's watching. Let me know if there's anything specific you want to see, and I will do my best to sort of explain any questions you might have. So from far away, this really just looks like a tiling texture like you would see in a traditional game. But it's actually a bunch of these circular shapes that they've added these cylinders probably to additively and subtractively, probably using a little bit of soft blend. Oh, they're actually the the jelly donut shape, or whatever you call it. And then to create the craters, it looks like they've just subtracted a big, huge jelly donut from one of these guys. And that's actually really easy to do if you just scope into one of these sculptures and just grab one of these filled donut shapes. Switch to cutout, and then as you can see, we're getting a red color, or a brownish color, which is the default sculpting color. But we can go into the color picker and just pick off of this guy to match the same color, and then cut out a big crater. Exit sculpt mode, get rid of this guy who's overlapping, and then we could add some more detail to that if we wanted. Maybe some little tiny craters inside. So yeah, it's a real effective way that they've created a moon surface that looks good up close, because you're only ever going to see it up close, since they have it, since they have you playing as a puppet. Nothing inside these moon bases. And then when you get far away, you can see that it's just the area you can explore. They haven't created a whole moon here. That would be kind of ridiculous. I like how they've sort of created these city lights. That seems like a lot of city lights, honestly. I don't think Earth is that dense with cities. If this were my thing, I would just sort of make them these tiny little things scattered throughout the world. But it's not my level, so I can't make that judgment call. Let's see. I mean, it could be my level. I could just remix it and publish my own version of it that fixes what bugs me about it. That's a really cool thing about Dreams, is if someone wants to, they can, like all these people have here, they can just make their creations remixable, and other people can take whatever they like, leave out what they don't like, create their own whole levels, or just make small tweaks to things. Burb simulator. Oh my god, I have to play this. Press X to burb. Oh god! Why? Why is this burb evil? I was not expecting this. Good job, Equation. You've created truly something out of this world. I'm curious if this person also made this this burb character, or if they took that from a community creation. Yeah. So this is something that someone named Neko Matador created, as you can see here in the genealogy section. So this person's creation is mostly just collage of things other people have created, like the grass, and the tree, and the bird, and they've just customized little things to make the bird's eyes glow and trigger the sound when you push the button. The sound, and they created custom camera effects and things. So you don't have to be a master artist or anything to create cool stuff within Dreams. You can just discover cool stuff, put it together in creative ways like this person has. Like this is someone who's apparently... Actually, yeah, so this is someone who's created what looks like a 2-player level out of the Media Molecule Dreamiverse Dash assets. I'm sure probably not very interested to watch as a single player. we have a microchip for each character. Connie is something that just comes with dreams that you can remix and customize, created by Media Molecule. It has these switches and sliders that you can use to customize her, his, or I don't know if Connie is canonically a girl, because you can have, because Connie just has the face of your imp, and your imp can have all sorts of different faces, so, yeah, as I was saying, you can customize him or her to have a double jump or different movement sounds or all sorts of things. So let's figure out which parts of this logic are custom. This trigger zone, puppet died. What is that sensing? That seems to be global. I'm looking for the trigger zone that would detect if the players are near each other. So let's see here. Slam logic's probably in there. So the slam outputs to slam animation effects. There's got to be something in here that affects the Connie's health. So there's health microchip somewhere in this circuit board. Let's see. It might even be not attached to Connie, and that's I'm not entirely sure. So what I'm looking for is a little heart microchip and a heart with gear gadget. These two guys, a health manager and a health modifier, because that would be probably how this person created the health for these characters. Health management, okay. So that's a microchip. I thought that was just like a destroyer chip, but it's actually a microchip. So, let's see. Oh, Connor. Connor and Connie, that's clever. So we have a current health. So it activates a keyframe when the character is losing health. So that looks that's probably all that keyframe does. It might do something else, but I'm not sure. Oops, I want to go back into editing. So let's take another look around. So somewhere there's got to be a health modifier. Let me know if this is not interesting, just having me sort of exploring other people's logic and figuring out how it works. It's interesting to me, so I hope by proxy it is also interesting to you. Movement sound effects. Double jump, slam. Oops. Slam logic. Detects if fully pressing R1. But how could you not be fully pressing R1? It's a digital button. So you can see here that Media Molecule did the little charge animation and sound using a timeline. So if I scrub this, you can see that Connie glows more as it gets closer to the end of the timeline. And I think that's just done using the slow power on, maybe? Or there's not a... oh, there is a fade in. So you can see here, I'm not sure why it's not rendering correctly, but ordinarily you would see a diagonal line on top of this keyframe indicating that this has fade in on it. A diagonal line connecting this circle to this one over here. So that's how they did the power on, is just by keyframing on something on Connie. If we scope into Connie, so there's a Connie paint painting on her surface that has a start and an end point, and as the start point animates, it creates this cool animation of, or probably the end point animates, it creates the cool animation of the lens filling up, which is really a clever way to create a really nice effect. Oh, my computer is trying to restart.